There are moments in life when you realize the people you've loved most in the world don't actually see you at all. For me, that moment came on what was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. Picture this. It's a Saturday morning in June, golden California sunshine, the scent of eucalyptus and sea salt drifting through open windows. I'm standing in front of a full-length mirror in a simple but stunning off-white silk gown, the kind that catches light like water, and my hands are shaking so badly I can't fasten the delicate pearl buttons at my wrists. Not from nerves about marrying Jake, no. I'm shaking because my phone has just buzzed for the 47th time in 2 hours, and every single message says the same thing. So sorry, can't make it. Family emergency. Change of plans. You understand, right? My mother, my father, my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, even my grandmother, the woman who taught me to braid challah bread and told me I was her little sunshine, sent a text that morning that said, and I quote, "Sweetheart, we'll celebrate you another time. Your sister needs us today." My sister needs them. You want to know what my sister needed? She needed them at her engagement brunch, not her wedding, her engagement brunch. A perfectly lovely, totally normal, completely non-urgent champagne and croissants gathering to celebrate the fact that her boyfriend of 11 months had finally proposed. And my entire family, every single person who was supposed to walk through the vineyard gates that afternoon, who was supposed to sit in those white wooden chairs we'd rented, who was supposed to stand when I walked down the aisle, they all chose her engagement party over my wedding. I should have seen it coming. I really should have. Because my whole life, that's how it's always been. Cassidy, my younger sister by 3 years, has always been the sun in our family's solar system. And me? I was the moon, reflecting her light, orbiting quietly, present, but never really seen. When Cassidy made the cheer squad in high school, my parents threw her a surprise party with a banner and a cake shaped like pom-poms. When I got accepted into UC Berkeley with a partial scholarship, my mum said, "That's wonderful, honey," and then turned back to help Cassidy pick out homecoming dresses. When Cassidy got engaged, my mother cried, and called 17 relatives in one afternoon. When I told them Jake proposed, my dad said, "Good for you, kiddo," and asked if I'd seen the remote. I told myself it didn't matter. I told myself I was being sensitive. I told myself that love isn't a competition. But standing there that morning, in my beautiful dress, in the house Jake and I had saved for years to buy, staring at a silent phone that should have been flooded with excited messages from my family, I finally let the truth crack me wide open. I had spent 29 years begging for crumbs of attention from people who had an entire bakery's worth of love, and they had chosen to give it all to someone else. So I made a decision, right then. If they wanted to miss my wedding, fine, but they were going to regret it for the rest of their lives. If you've ever been overlooked, underestimated, or flat out ignored by the people who were supposed to love you most, and you've dreamed of the day they'd finally realize what they lost, this story is for you. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and buckle up, because this is one of the most satisfying comebacks you'll ever hear. Let me rewind and give you the full picture. My name is Eleanor. I'm 32 now, but this story starts about 8 months before my wedding, when Jake, my fiancé, my partner, my best friend, got down on one knee during a sunset hike in Topanga Canyon and asked me to marry him. I said yes before he even finished the question. We'd been together for 6 years. We met in a completely unromantic way, stuck in an elevator during a power outage at a tech conference, and spent 43 minutes talking about everything from artificial intelligence to our shared obsession with true crime podcasts. He was kind, stable, brilliant in a quiet, unassuming way. He didn't need to be the loudest person in the room, and God, after growing up in my family, that was everything. We decided on a small wedding, intimate, 50 guests max, a boutique vineyard in Ojai, about 90 minutes north of LA. Nothing flashy, just us. I told my parents first. We were at their house, my childhood home in Pasadena. A sprawling craftsman they'd bought in the 90s back when the neighborhood was still affordable. My mum was in the kitchen making her famous lemon bars. My dad was in the living room watching a Dodgers game. I walked in holding Jake's hand and announced, "We're engaged." My mum looked up, smiled and said, "Oh, that's so nice, sweetie." That was it. "That's so nice, sweetie." Then she asked Jake if he wanted to try a lemon bar. My dad didn't even turn away from the TV, just gave a thumbs up and muttered, "Congrats, you two." I felt something hard and cold settle in my chest, but I pushed it down. I told myself they were just distracted. But then, 3 weeks later, Cassidy got engaged, and the house exploded. My mother screamed, literally screamed with joy. She FaceTimed everyone she'd ever met. My dad opened a bottle of champagne at 10 a.m. They started planning an engagement party that same afternoon. I watched it all happen from the corner of the couch, holding a mug of tea that had gone cold, and I realized something. I wasn't imagining it. This wasn't in my head. I was genuinely, measurably, demonstrably less important to them. Over the next few months, I planned my wedding quietly. Jake and I chose the venue. I found my dress at a little boutique in Silver Lake. We hired a photographer, a florist, a string quartet. I sent my parents the invitation, printed on thick cream cardstock with delicate gold lettering, and my mum stuck it on the fridge with a magnet and said, "June 24th, got it." Cassidy's engagement party, meanwhile, grew into an entire production. She rented out a restaurant in Santa Monica, hired a calligrapher, had custom cocktails named after her and her fiancé, and my parents paid for all of it. When I gently asked my mum if they'd be able to contribute anything toward my wedding, even just a small amount, she sighed and said, "Honey, we're a little stretched thin right now. You understand?" I understood, all right. I understood perfectly. The final blow came 2 weeks before my wedding. I was at my parents' house for Sunday dinner, something we did every week, a tradition I'd never missed. Cassidy was there too, of course, glowing and giddy, talking non-stop about her wedding plans. She'd set a date for the following spring. She was thinking Positano, or maybe the French Riviera. My mother hung on every word. At one point, I tried to bring up my wedding, mentioned that the final head count was due, and I needed to confirm who from the family was coming. My mum waved a hand and said, "We'll all be there, don't worry." But her eyes never left Cassidy. Then, the Monday before my wedding, I got a text. From my mother, not a call, a text. It said, "Sweetheart, I'm so sorry, but something's come up. Cassidy is having an engagement brunch this Saturday, and the whole family's coming. It's really important to her. We'll make it up to you, I promise. Love you." I read it 3 times. Then I called her. "Mum, my wedding is this Saturday." "I know, honey, but Cassidy planned this months ago, and..." "No, she didn't. She literally just told you about it last week." A pause. "Eleanor, don't make this difficult. It's just a brunch. Your wedding will still happen." "But you won't be there." Another pause, longer this time. "We'll celebrate with you afterward, I promise." I hung up, and I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there on the edge of my bed, staring at the wall, and felt something inside me harden. Because in that moment, I understood something fundamental. They didn't forget. They didn't get confused. They chose. They looked at my wedding and my sister's engagement brunch, and they chose her. Again, like they always had, like they always would. Unless I did something about it. So here's what I did. I called Jake, told him everything, and to his eternal credit, he didn't try to minimize it or tell me I was overreacting. He just said, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "I want to get married." And I want them to know exactly what they missed. Jake and I had been smart with money. We both worked in tech, him as a software engineer, me in product management. We'd been saving for years, living below our means, investing carefully. And 6 months earlier, we'd done something a little crazy. We bought a house, not just any house, a $7.2 million architectural masterpiece in the Malibu hills, floor-to-ceiling windows, infinity pool, views of the Pacific that made your heart stop. We'd gotten an incredible deal because the previous owner needed to sell fast, and we'd been pre-approved for a loan that made the math work. It was supposed to be our forever home, the place we'd raise kids, grow old. And now, it was going to be our wedding venue. I made some calls. Turns out when you're willing to pay rush fees, you can make magic happen fast. I hired a luxury event planner who specialized in high-end weddings, told her I had 4 days and an unlimited budget. She didn't even blink. By Wednesday, we had a team of florists constructing a ceremony arch out of white peonies and trailing jasmine, a Michelin-starred chef, preparing a 5-course tasting menu, a live jazz band, string lights woven through every tree on the property, vintage champagne flown in from France. A videographer who'd shot weddings for actual celebrities, I sent a new invitation to everyone who'd RSVP'd. Yes, everyone except my immediate family. The message was simple: venue change, new location below, can't wait to celebrate with you. And then I did something petty, something gloriously, vindictively petty. I hired a photographer, not for the wedding, for my family's reaction. Saturday arrived. The weather was perfect. 78 degrees, cloudless, golden hour light pouring over everything like honey. Our house looked like something out of Architectural Digest. 50 of our closest friends filled the rows of white chairs on the lawn. The ocean sparkled below. The string quartet played softly. And I walked down the aisle in my silk gown, holding a bouquet of garden roses, toward the man I loved, surrounded by people who had chosen to be there. The ceremony was perfect. I cried. Jake cried. Our officiant made everyone laugh. When he said, "You may kiss the bride," the entire crowd erupted. And then we partied. We danced under the stars. We ate food that tasted like art. We toasted with champagne that cost more per bottle than my sister's engagement cake. I felt radiant, not because of the house or the expensive champagne or the designer dress, but because I was finally surrounded by love that didn't come with conditions. And then, right as we were cutting the cake, my phone buzzed, a text from my mother. "The brunch is over. Where are you? We want to come celebrate." I smiled, and I replied, "We already got married at our home in Malibu. Sorry you missed it." Then I attached a photo, a wide shot of the ceremony, the ocean, the florals, the sheer grandeur of it all. And I waited. 3 minutes later, my phone exploded. Calls, texts, voicemails. My mother, "What? You got married already? Why didn't you tell us the venue changed?" My father, "Elena, this isn't funny. Where are you?" Cassidy, "Are you seriously that petty?" I didn't answer any of them. Instead, I handed my phone to Jake, pulled him onto the dance floor, and let the jazz band play us into the night. The fallout was spectacular. By Sunday morning, my entire extended family knew. Not because I told them, but because I posted the professional wedding photos on social media. Every single one. The ceremony by the ocean, the reception under the stars, the 5-tier cake, the first dance on our wraparound deck with the city lights twinkling below. I tagged it. "Forever starts now. So grateful to everyone who celebrated with us yesterday." The comments poured in. "This is the most beautiful wedding I've ever seen. You look like an actual princess. That house, goals." And then, buried in the thread, a comment from my cousin Rachel. "Wait, I thought the wedding was at a vineyard." My Aunt Linda replied, "It was supposed to be, but Eleanor changed the venue and didn't tell anyone." Someone else chimed in. "Didn't her parents skip the wedding for Cassidy's brunch?" And just like that, the family group chat detonated. People started asking questions. Why wasn't anyone from the immediate family there? Why did Elena's parents choose an engagement brunch over their daughter's wedding? My mother tried to do damage control, said it was a miscommunication, but my uncle, my dad's brother, who I've always been close to, shut that down fast. He commented publicly, "There was no miscommunication. You chose Cassidy's brunch over Eleanor's wedding. Own it." The family was divided. Half of them were furious at my parents. The other half thought I should have been the bigger person. I didn't engage with any of it. I was too busy being married. But the real twist, the one that made this whole thing feel like cosmic justice. 3 weeks after my wedding, Cassidy's engagement fell apart. Turns out her fiancé had been cheating on her for months. She found out because someone tagged him in a photo at a club with another woman. The engagement was off. The brunch they'd all prioritized over my wedding. It had been for nothing. And suddenly my parents wanted to talk. They showed up at our house unannounced one Saturday afternoon. I answered the door in yoga pants and one of Jake's old sweatshirts, holding a cup of coffee. My mother's eyes were red. "Elena, we need to talk." I leaned against the doorframe. "About what?" "About everything. We made a mistake." I took a slow sip of coffee. "You didn't make a mistake, Mom. You made a choice. We didn't realize that I'd bought a $7 million house, that I'd have the wedding of the year without you, that I didn't actually need you there." Her face crumpled. My dad stepped forward. "We're sorry, Elena. We really are." And here's the thing, I believed him. I think they were sorry, but not because they understood what they'd done. They were sorry because they'd been embarrassed, because the whole family now knew they'd chosen wrong, because they'd missed something important, and now they looked bad. I stood there, looking at them, these people who'd raised me, who I'd spent my whole life trying to please. And I felt nothing, no anger, no sadness, just a calm, clear certainty. "I appreciate the apology," I said quietly, "but it doesn't change anything." "Eleanor, please. You've spent my entire life showing me where I rank. I finally listened." I stepped back into the house. "If you want to be part of my life going forward, that's something we can talk about, but it's going to be on my terms, not yours." And I closed the door. Here's what I learned. You can't force people to see your worth, but you can stop waiting for their permission to live a life that reflects it. My parents didn't skip my wedding because they didn't love me. They skipped it because they'd spent so long putting someone else first. They didn't even realize they were doing it anymore. And that's not something I can fix, but I can choose how I show up for myself. And I can build a life so full, so beautiful, so aligned with who I am, that their absence doesn't leave a hole, it just leaves space. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever been underestimated, overlooked, or left behind by people who should have seen you, smash that like button, drop a comment and tell me, have you ever had a moment where you realized you didn't need someone's approval anymore? And if you want more stories about standing up, speaking out, and taking your power back, hit subscribe, because trust me, we're just getting started. Thanks for listening. I'll see you in the next one.